Hey there everybody, this is Gary from Constricted and Addicted. This weekend I had a goal. I've been thinking about switching over to bioactive enclosures for some time. I decided that this weekend was going to be the weekend that I got my feet wet and decided to at least try 2 enclosures on the bioactive systems. I've been very skeptical of them. I thought maybe that your snakes could get RIs from them. I just thought a lot of different things, and I've asked a lot of questions, and I haven't heard too many people say anything about respiratory infections with, I don't know where she's going. Got to keep an eye on her because she gets away quick. Respiratory infections with their snakes in a bioactive enclosure. So what I decided to do was try 2 and see what happens. And what I wanted to do was go over the pros and cons of having a bioactive enclosure. So the first thing that I would like to go over are the cons of a bioactive enclosure. And really, I could only come up with one, and that is the cost. It took me probably close to between $150 and $200 per enclosure. And that's plants, that's soil, that's the leaf matter, cork, the isopod soil substrate, because you mix that in, the cypress mulch. There's just lots of little things that was suggested to me, and I got everything from the Serpentarium in Lodi. The staff there was just absolutely wonderful in helping me put this all together. But the reality was that it was not cheap. The plants, once I got it all put together, and the 5 enclosures, it averaged out to about $150 per enclosure. It was kind of expensive. That being the only con, I also have to mention that the other con might be, and I haven't experienced it yet, is I have 2 of my retics in bioactive enclosures. And getting them out of those enclosures might present a problem, because if anybody knows any sort of constrictor, they like to take everything out with them when they come out. So I haven't yet got Clarice or Ruby out, but I did get Odin out, and Odin is in bioactive, and he did pretty good coming up. I have taken my Hog Island Adrestia out, and she did fairly well coming out. I have not yet taken my Suriname out, and he just tends to stay under the hide, so I think he'll be okay to get out. It's the retics. And the retics, like I said, they're a bit longer, so getting them out, they want to go back in, they want to wrap around something, or if you get their head out first, typically they like to go and let their tail wrap around objects, and then they bring it out with them. We'll see what happens. That might be the second con that I have with the bioactive systems, and that's just because of a choice that I made. All the rest I have are pros. The first thing is the look. Now I'm gonna take my camera, I'm gonna pan into all of the bioactive enclosures. Like I said, the goal was to do 2, and I ended up doing 5. Once I got the 2 set up, I was just absolutely impressed with the way they look, with just everything about them, and the naturalistic look. And I didn't know, and I didn't think that that's what was gonna happen. But let me give you a little tour of what's happened. Now, I'm going to give you a tour of all the enclosures, and you're going to see that some of the enclosures are in cocoa blocks, and I'm going to explain that next. Now, if you did happen to notice behind me, these two enclosures have not been done. They don't have cocoa blocks in them. They don't have any bioactive going on because I don't have any snakes in those enclosures right now. I've got a new snake coming from Chris McVicker, 50% Solaire, 25% Super Dwarf. And once that snake gets out of quarantine, one of these enclosures will be its home for a little while until I decide what I'm going to do to house that animal. So the bioactive enclosures that I've done, to me, I mean, they are just amazing looking. I really love the way they look. The pros that I have with the bioactive is it's the look. I mean, they just look so 1,000 times better than what I was doing. Next thing is the humidity. These things are staying right about 75 to 80% humidity, which is perfect. It's ideal for every one of my snakes. Now, I want to talk about the cocoa blocks as well, because the cocoa blocks, I've had problems with the animals going to the bathroom and then finding it a week later because I didn't have lighting in any of the enclosures except for puck lights. The puck lights were battery operated, so they were never on. This has all been changed. I know I haven't done a video in a long time, and I'm not going to try and make this too long, but what I have done is I have put Govee lighting in every one of my enclosures now. So they're all timed. I put everything in, so it's all hooked up to power strips. It's hooked up to my internet. The lighting turns on at 6:30 in the morning and then turns off at 6:30 at night. So now I have access. I can see everything that's going on in these enclosures now where I didn't do that before. So that's one of the things, is that when I had them on cocoa blocks in the beginning, they would go to the bathroom and I wouldn't catch it for a week, 2 weeks. It'd be molded over. I just felt terrible. So what did I do? I switched over to this paper right here. And the paper was very efficient. It was like you could see them go to the bathroom, you change the paper out, but next thing you know, I've got bags of paper laying around in plastic bags from the grocery store because of the constant changing of substrate or paper when they're going to the bathroom. So getting that, dealing with humidity issues, it's unsightly. I was in here doing videos and I was just not really liking the paper background. I was trying to get comfortable with it. I just never did. So after I installed the lighting in all of the enclosures, that's when I started to realize that now I can see what's going on in there. That was the big X factor for me. So after putting the lighting in, then I decided that there was some enclosures I was going to go bioactive in. And I sat in here yesterday thinking about which ones I wanted to go bioactive and which ones were going to be cocoa blocks. Now the reason I have Georgia, Cora, and Olive on cocoa blocks because they are the most active. I just think that if I was to put these guys on bioactive systems, they would tear it apart. I also have Athena and Emma in my living room, and I might get that out because I haven't shown that off either. I didn't want to have to put all this money into their enclosures and then them tear it up. So what I found is that if I just keep them on the cocoa blocks produces plenty of humidity. I can see them go to the bathroom. Now I can clean it up. That's the plan with them. The other ones, just because they're on bioactive does not mean that I'm exempt from cleaning their poop out. It just means that I clean it out, but I don't have to get it all out. The isopods in there are supposed to feed on the feces or the leftover feces, and then it becomes a little microsystem. So I don't know anything about bioactive systems. I see people post bioactive systems. I see people talk about bioactive systems. I had to go to the Serpentarium in Lodi and I had to ask them all the questions. What does this really do? Is it beneficial? The beneficial part, it's the look for me right now. I don't know if it's beneficial, but what I do know is that when I look into this enclosure now, it's like, it looks naturalistic. Real plants, real soil, real bugs. That was another question, is that are those bugs going to injure my snakes? And they said they won't. They did say that there are isopods, though, that will chew on your snakes if you're not careful. And they told me which ones. I don't remember the name, but I don't have them. I have powder oranges, I believe they're called. They're supposed to be really good. I don't know, but that's what I got. So it's the look, it's the naturalistic look, it's the mini micro system, it's the humidity levels, it's the fact that I don't have to change substrate now for months. Now, this is all what I've been told, so I don't know if that's completely true, but from what I understand, I have living plants in these systems. So I'm assuming that I don't need to change substrate as long as I keep on top of the fresh, get the fresh out, leave some residual behind for the isopods. The isopods are going to breed, they're going to multiply, and they're going to take care of the remainder stuff that gets left in these enclosures. So bottom line, Bioactive, I am sold. I am completely sold. I think that what I have going on right now is perfect for this room. This right now I feel very comfortable, in exception for this enclosure here. I don't know if you can see it. Let me see if I can turn the camera a little bit, get it focused. This enclosure right here is Olive's enclosure. It is a 4x4 stacked with a hole in the center. So she's got basically 2 4-foot enclosures that she can go through. Now, what I wanted to do is try to give her a naturalistic look as well. So I put fake plants in there with her. And I got some Decor from long ago, and it appears that she's not tearing it apart. She's been in this since yesterday like this, and the plants are still in one spot, which this is what I want to do with these guys right here. As a matter of fact, what I have planned for these two, because their enclosures are so high, I'm going to go out, get some branches about approximately the same height as the enclosure and try to tack them into the enclosure so that they have some climbing. And then I'm going to put some leaves and branches and other things in there. So I have plans. They still look bare, but as far as humidity is concerned, as far as them being a little bit more on the healthy side, I didn't like the paper. It worked, but it was just, I always had a second doubt about it. This I don't. So I'm a lot happier with this setup, with this room. So with that being said, we're going to go over to the other area in my living room. Earlier in one of my videos, I talked about I did something that I said I would never do. And I've got it ×2 in my living room. So let's go in there and check out what I've done. So one of the things that I've always been proud of is that if you were to come up to my house, you would never know that I had reptiles. I never used to keep reptiles in this room until now. The only traffic that I really ever get up here is my daughter, my grandkids. Every once in a while, the in-laws come up, and that would be it. And I'm entertaining putting blinds across the top of my enclosures that would come down. But as it sits right now, these two snakes, they are not really bothered by foot traffic in here. The grandkids have been up here. They actually handle Emma. Emma is a 9-foot mainland reticulated python. And with her in here, with the kids running around, Athena's up here. Typically, Athena is underneath her hide. Athena's about a 7-foot boa. They are not bothered, or at least they have not been bothered by foot traffic that happens in the living room. So I have become okay with these enclosures being in here, plus the fact that these are the 2 largest animals that I have, and they just needed the room. We used to have a fish tank right here. It was a 100-gallon fish tank, and it leaked 80 gallons of water all over my floor. So when that happened, I actually rehomed the fish to a fish store in Sonora, California, and this became a very empty spot. So when we ended up purchasing Emma, I ended up buying an 8-foot enclosure. It had the stand on it. We were trying to figure out where it was going to go. I thought I was going to put it in the reptile room, but it just turned out that it fit and it works right here in the living room. And as you can see, Emma is underneath, or I'm sorry, Athena is underneath her hide here. She's beautiful. I'll get her out real quick. This is Athena. Athena was rehomed to me. Just an amazing boa constrictor. Just so gentle, loving, and inquisitive and curious, and I just can't say enough about her. I've got the best of both worlds right here. I've got a, in my opinion, a pretty large reticulated python that's just a sweetheart, and I've got this boa constrictor, and they're both sweethearts. Every animal in my collection, I'm just very fortunate. They're very gentle, very sweet, very socialized. They love being handled, and I just couldn't have a better collection. And to have these two out here in the living room, right now it's just me and my wife. Nobody else really comes up here, like I said, except family. And when family's up here, we're not up here partying. The grandkids are running around or watching TV or doing what they do, but it's not super bad with foot traffic. And the foot traffic that is produced by my family, it doesn't bother these guys at all. So I'm gonna go ahead and put her back. What's really cool about this enclosure is it's got the shelf up here that Emma can go, that Athena can go on, and that she actually can stretch out completely. Many mornings I've woken up and she is all the way across that shelf, just sitting up there. So I really like this enclosure. It was not in the greatest condition when I got it. I ended up doing some painting to it, and it's still kind of janky in some way, shape, and form sometimes, but it works. And both my humidity levels now with the cocoa blocks, they're right about 70% humidity. I've got radiant heat panels on each one of these with belly heat, so the hot side stays at 90 degrees. The cool thing about these two enclosures is I've got these Inkbird Wi-Fi thermostats, so I can always check from my phone what these enclosures are doing. All the lighting is on, like I said before. It's all programmed through Alexa, through my phone. So it all turns on at 6:30 a.m. and it all turns off at 6:30 p.m. It's kind of cool to watch because you see all the lights go down. I am really, really pleased with my setup and everything that's going on. And they say, I've heard it said, that if you want to keep it interesting, keep changing your reptiles' homes around. Keep redecorating the enclosures and things like that. I've always found joy in just handling my animals and just spending time with them and enjoying them as company. I just never really thought that I would find the same joy in changing their enclosures around like I've done. And I gotta tell you, it puts a whole new spin on the hobby for me. It really does, because I look in that room right now and it just looks amazing. It really does. You know what? I appreciate you guys watching this video. I have not been very active, and it's the same excuses I gave you guys before. I just have a lot of things going on, and sometimes sitting down to do a video, to do all the editing, and then to upload it to YouTube, it's a lot. So I pass it on. I just say I'll do it some other time, and then some other time buries into 2 to 3 weeks. And I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I'm going to get more consistent with this. I'm going to try. And I love doing this. I love sharing my animals with you guys. So with that being said, I'm going to try to be more consistent with it. I am on social media. If you go to Gary's Constrictors on Instagram, you are going to see a ton of my snakes, my setups, videos, all sorts of things on my Instagram. So with that, what I wanted to do was start putting some stuff together for my YouTube channel, and I do have some stuff that I'm going to bring forward here in the future. And I've been talking to a lot of people. I've found that there's a lot of people around me that are afraid of reptiles. And what I want to do is start putting a segment into my channel where I walk somebody through their fear of handling a reptile. And it doesn't have anything to do with go out and buy a reptile now. What it really does is just try to change people's fears and misconceptions about things that they've been taught or they know or they think they know about reptiles, and show them that maybe what they've learned isn't real. It's false. It's misinformation. So that's what I've been working on. Hopefully I can get that started soon. I've got a lot of people who have told me they want to be part of that. So that's what I'm working on. I will start being a little bit more consistent in getting more videos up. At least I'm going to try to. And thanks for watching, you guys. Appreciate it.